to do that in CSS, you begin by typing full colon and then you type root and then you close it inside curly brackets. Okay, so whatever goes in the root, it will be available in every other part of your, maybe in this case, in this HTML. If you have multiple pages, it will be available in those multiple pages. So here you can declare, for example, colors, you can declare sizes like pixels and so forth. Let's start by saying that this section will have colors. If you have global variables for things like sizes, you can add them like that and so forth and so forth. So for you to declare a global variable, you begin by adding two dashes at the start. Then you give the name here. The name goes here. It can also be hyphenated here, and then the value for that name, the value. Okay, so that means that, for example, if we want to add a color red, we can just say main red color, and then we give it a color red, so like that, and then you close it. When you do that, you see that Visual Studio Code will give you that display for that color. If you want to change it to a different color, simply hover on this, then you will see this color picker. Then you can select the color that you want, okay? And then if you want to switch, yeah, between RGB, RGBA, and even hash, you just simply click on this part right here, okay? And then you will get the code that you want. All right, so I believe that's clear. So with Instagram, we see that we have a couple of colors. We have grays, we have also blue, we have white, we have black, and they are all different. For example, this blue link right here, this one is different from these ones, yeah? And also, we see that the gray colors, this background of gray is different from maybe the outline right here. So that means we need to add the different variations of these colors, okay? So I prepared them beforehand so that it's going to be easier for us to just go through this section. So this is what we will have. Let me just add them right here, okay? Like that. So if we take a look, let me just do this. So we see that we have border color 1 and we give it it's gray, okay? And that's this one, like maybe the border for this one. And then we have blue 1, blue 2, text color 1, and so forth. Again, remember, in this case, for example, this border color 1, it's gray. So maybe we can add it right here. We remove it from there and we put it in the gray color sections. Maybe we call it maybe gray, gray 5. Okay. Okay, so it's always best to arrange them in a manner that's going to be like easy even to read, yeah? So if you have blues, put them in the blue section. If you have text colors, you have them there. And then if you have link colors, like that, like that. But again, this is up to you. You can decide the option that you want. Maybe if you're working with your team, you can all agree. This is how we are going to be arranging them, okay? All right, so the other thing we are going to use is the font. As we said, global variables, they can come here. So we can have our global fonts, okay? And the font that we are going to be going with is, you see the Instagram font right here is Sigo UI, I believe. So all you need to do is to add that variable. So I already have it, so I'll just paste it there. So like this. And remember, every variable here, it starts with 2 dashes, then the name goes. And then we can also add another, maybe, let's say we want to add another font, like maybe Poppins, okay? And Poppins will have this value, and then like that, okay? So with this, you can simply use this variable anywhere in your application, anywhere in your website. So for example, tomorrow you say, we want to have a consistency. And we say like a default font. We say like you have our default font right here. And this default font, let's say for example, it's Poppins. It's this one, okay? Then tomorrow, if you want to switch your default font to maybe something like Roboto, all you need to do is to change it here, and then the change will be propagated everywhere in your application. So you don't need to go change bit by bit, so long as you use this variable. So this is really important, and I believe it's going to help you a lot when it comes to creating and writing UIs that are actually scalable and maintainable down the line. Okay, so let's continue. So now that we have an understanding of setting the root, Let's take a look at now the first elements that we declared right here. So why did I put a comma right here? HTML, comma body. That means that HTML and body, they will share the same styles. Okay, so this would have been like this. It would have been like this, and then we just copy this and we put it there. But this is not ideal because it's duplication. But if we want to make our code concise, we simply do this and then we set it there. So for example, if you were to change the background here of HTML to red, it will be red. But then the body color, we can give it background color of maybe blue. It will be blue. However, now we remove just this from here and then we move this body here. You see, it will take the red color. So that's how you combine styling. Okay, so we can just remove this and also this. All right, so we are now ready to start implementing our content section. So taking a look at our content, we see that it's going to have children inside it. And aside from having children inside it, it's also going to be a child of the body element, because that's how we have it right here. So that means that our body, we need to style it in such a way that is going to accommodate for its children. All right, and that means we start with body now. So we this way, actually this is important because this way now body and HTML will share these characteristics. Okay, however, we can go ahead and say let's have body have these specific features aside from the ones of the HTML. So the first thing we are going to give it is a display of flex. Okay, and then the other thing we are going to give it is a flex direction, and the direction will be column. All right, and I'll explain in a moment. Then we are going to give it a row gap of maybe 64 pixels. So display flex is a way of actually laying out your UI. There are very many different types of displays. There is the block, there is actually the grid, but for our case we are going to go with flex. Okay, so with flex you can align items horizontally, okay, or vertically. So horizontal is on the x-axis, like this x-axis, and then vertically is going upwards, like up or down. All right, so that means that in our case our content will be on top of our footer because of the way they have been outlined here in our body section. And that means that we need to give it a flex direction of column. So column is going this way vertically, and the default one is always the horizontal approach, like the row. So the other option is row here. So if we have row here, things will go from left to right like this. So you see our footer comes in the end right here, okay? But because now we want to have them like on top of one another, so we give it column, and then our footer will go back to where it was here at the bottom. When it comes to display flex, it can be horizontal or vertical depending on the direction that you give it, okay? So for our case, we just go with flex direction column, and then we give it a row gap. Row gap, think of this as the gap. You remember in school, like you are in row 1, but then there was student 1 here, there was student 2, student 3, student 4. Then between your desks, there was a gap, and then there was another gap, and so forth and so forth. So these gaps, okay, these are the row gaps. When you are in a column, in this example, you have the content at the top and the foot at the bottom. What is going to be between them in column is a row. But if we have this like this as a row, what is going to be between them will now be, as we expected, the column gap. So this one will now change to be column gap. Okay, column gap, like that. All right, so that means this is pushed. But if you want to have both column, okay, and row share the same gap, we just have it as gap, and you see it's still persisted. So for our case, we just want to go with row gap, set this back to column, and then this will be pushed at the bottom. So if we increase this one maybe to maybe 128 pixels, you will see that the content is pushed even further down. Okay, so let's proceed into the content section right here. What I normally like doing, maybe when styling things in the top levels, you can give them a background color. For example, we give this a background color of cyan, and then that way you can focus only on the content section.